Hi, good morning. This is Ravi. I do not know how many of you are live already, but this is a random idea that came to my mind yesterday while I was talking to a few people whom I was trying to recruit as my virtual assistant. And in that process, I found a few attitudes that were not very helpful in terms of making an impression upon me, and then it triggered that okay, I have been doing a lot of talks, I have been doing a lot of presentations, I've been mentoring a lot of students in college, I've been giving talks, I have been in fact mentoring a few young product managers, to be product managers. We have a WhatsApp group of around 20 wannabe product managers who I mentor. In fact, I spent some time yesterday mentoring a guy who was about to get his who has three interviews lined up in his kitty, and he just wanted my help to go through the job description and prepare accordingly. He just completed his MBA in Paris, and he's looking out for options for a PM product management job around Europe. So I spend a lot of time with youngsters, guiding them, and I thought I have learned a few things in my life through my career. Sometimes, most times, the hard way, and I wish somebody had given me some of these insights when I was starting my career. And these insights are not just um, valuable to you when you're starting your career. Let me get my headset a bit. I think the audio is better in my headset. Just give me a second. All right. I have a new set of headsets which are much better than the internal mic of uh, of my MacBook. Internal mics of MacBook really suck bad. Really suck. So just give me a second. All right. I think we are good. Let me just check my audio here. You 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be fine. Great. So, as I said, what qualifies me to talk about this subject? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. And am I the best person today to talk about this subject? Definitely not. There are people with much greater careers. There are people with I have my classmates who have become vice presidents. Some are managing directors. Many have been directors. So definitely, I'm not proclaiming here that I have the best career and I'm most qualified. The idea is these are my lessons that have worked for me, and I'm just sharing them as experience. And who would be a target audience? As I said, the target audience could be anybody from 19 to 91, because of course, I have created a baseline which would apply to almost everybody. So, what are some of the things that have worked for me? What is it that I have tried over the years? So, a few disclosures. So, when I began my career, I wasn't very ambitious, and I did not manage my career well, and I was directionless, and I was mostly without any vision. And uh, I did not take my career seriously for the first 10 years, 10, 11 years. And also, I got lucky with some of my early breaks. I got into some really good product companies as technical writer. And then what happened was getting into technical writing gave me, at that time, technical writing was hot. At that time there were not many good technical writers in India, and then all these product companies needed technical writers to write the user documentation for their products, software products. And technical writing was booming, and it was easy to get jobs in technical writing if you are if you're a little good with your communication skills and your writing skills, you could get. And as a result, I cracked a lot of these interviews easily. And then in life, as it happens, when you get something easily, you lose appreciation of that. And I always wanted to get rid of my job because I got the job so easily. I did not appreciate it a lot. I wanted to run my own business and stuff like that. Wanted to do MBA. Did not want to be a technical writer. And so as a result, my focus was always on activities outside my day job. And my day job was sort of a filler to get my bills going. Yeah, so as I said, after 10 years, I got married, and then I burnt my fingers doing a business which failed. And then once that happened, I had to get back to work and be serious about it. And after the business failed, I got married. I had to be responsible. I said, okay, I cannot continue the business. I need to get back to my job. What is it that will help me keep growing? What job should help me keep growing? And what is it that should be a faster growth to my career? And that's when I did a lot of that's when I started becoming serious about it. I said, technical writing will hit a ceiling somewhere. I need to think of a serious career which will have a fulfilling career growth. So that's exactly the time when I got serious about it. So these are some of the lessons. And then, of course, I managed to get into product management, and then it has been a fulfilling run since then. So let me quickly go through what all I have got. So 10 killer strategies to stand out in your next job interview. I just quickly put that up yesterday, but I have more than 10. You might pick and choose the ones that you like, but all the 13, I have 13. While I was putting them down, I got 13 of them. So I'm in 2 weeks, I'm joining as a lead head product manager for a very big reinsurance company. Um, and I'm very thrilled and excited about it. My present job is a senior product manager at INOS. I've worked in some very good product companies all over the world: TeamViewer, Autodesk, Siemens, Sun Microsystems, Computer Associates. I am a curator of productlessons.com. So these are some of my gigs. I'm an ambassador of Product Management Festival. I founded Product Camp Singapore. These are communities for product management. And some of my hustle where because of all the things that I do, it got me attractive work opportunities from all over the world. And the point that I'm trying to make here is, when I was in Singapore, there were two companies in Europe, Zurich and in Germany. They hired me without even seeing me face to face. They hired me in remote through remote interviews. And the reason being that I stood out. I was attractive to them, potentially attractive to them. Of course, I had to convert that trust and convert that trust into real contribution. And that eventually happened. And because of my hustle, that everything that I do, I got free invitations to some of the best conferences in the world. I got some keynote opportunities in the best conferences in the world. I have been invited as guest in some of the podcasts, and I've interacted with some of the best product minds in the world, and got invitations to speak at MBA schools. So there is a Folksheim, one of the prestigious university here in Germany. I got to speak there twice, and also I got to speak whenever I visit India. I speak. Last time I visited XIMB. So yeah, those were some of my what opportunities came my way because of my hustle. Now, this should not be three. This should be number one. Now, as I said, if I have to say, if we have to remember just one thing and forget everything that I say, if you want to excel in your career, just remembering this one thing, that is being hungry for success than anyone else, itself will take care of your success. If you are really passionate and driven and hungry about your success, everything else are just tactics, because the fire is in your belly, and the fire has to be there for any kind of success to come your way. So I can give you hundreds of tactics. You can read hundreds of books, but if you're not instinctively hungry, if you're not hungry within, if you're not if the fire in your coal is not burning, then there's no point, because it would just be a list of things that should be done, but you don't do. So the most important thing of all the things I'm going to say today, the most important thing is be more hungry for success than anyone else, and the rest will be taken care of. And what I have seen, the people that I see, that people that I admire, people who are most successful around me, they have this hunger retained. I mean, and that hunger does not ebb. So even if when they started the career in the 20s or 30s, their 40s and the 50s, the longer you contain that hunger, it compounds. The benefit compounds. So you get even more and more rewards for keeping that hunger alive. Was I hungry earlier? No, I was not as hungry. I'm more hungry about my career growth today than I ever was, and I hope that I maintain this. And this is something that I would give. This would be my first um, strategy. That not a strategy. This should be a first mindset to have, that you should have more hunger than anyone else around the world. Number two is go the extra mile, it's less crowded. And this is a very simple mindset to carry, a very simple approach to carry, which unfortunately 90% of people don't do. And that's exactly why the 10% people reap higher rewards than the rest 90%. Because this 10% people, they go the extra mile. They do things a little more than what others do. And as a result, they stand out. And I'll give you a few examples on how it works. But going the extra mile is a very simple strategy. And Going the extra mile does not mean working extra hard. No, it's just being a little more creative. Of course, working extra hard is also going the extra mile. If somebody works X amount and you are able to work X plus 10, then of course you are also going the extra mile. But I don't, when I say extra mile, I don't just mean that work harder than others. That is anyways a given. But also in other ways, be creative and stand out. And I'll give you some examples here. A very simple way to stand out is for a job interview. Let me just make it very clear. The scope of this conversation today, the scope of my presentation today is about how to stand out in the job market. Okay, how to crack an interview and how to make a great impression when there is a lot of competition. So for any given position, usually there are a lot of candidates, right? So how do you stand out? So this is the scope. And what is the most important medium for you to stand out? Of course, the CV, and the CV has remained a traditional medium to sell yourself for the past several decades now, right? The CV, of course, the format of the CV and all of that have evolved over the years, but it still is the primary representation of who you are. This a piece of paper or a PDF in digital format. And what is bothering is still most people do not take a lot of effort in sprucing up their CV. So usually, how can you stand out? So for example, for one position, the hiring manager gets 20 or 25 CVs, right, on his plate. He has 25 CVs. Now he's screening the CVs. Of course, he has to screen for looking at the right fit for the job description that is advertised. But usually, it is in the first 5 seconds that that you create an impression and capture the imagination of your hiring manager. And I must tell you, all the times that I have been picked, my resume has been picked. Sometimes I'm not moved to the second round, but very often than not, I have been picked just for screening, even though there is no match to the job description. Just by the virtue of my CV standing out creatively than the rest of the candidates makes me at least have a conversation. All right. And I have been very ambitious sometimes to apply for roles that I do not have any chance to get the job. But I've applied nevertheless. Just I've taken chances, and I've also gotten the initial conversations. The hiring manager would just want to speak to me because he found me so interesting. It has happened so many times. Just memories just rush through me as I speak. But this is, I cannot harp more on this. Just please spend some time sprucing up your CV. As simple as, I mean, I can tell you what has worked for me. What has worked for me is I've always ensured that my CV has a good design. So I've kept it colored. Of course, some people still feel black and white is the standard way to go. I mean, again, it should align with your own personality. I go color. So this has been my template for some time. So design is something that should be aesthetically appealing to whoever sees it. Of course, it cannot be garish. It cannot be too loud. It has to be visually appealing. So if you're not a visual guy yourself, try to take help from a designer friend of yours, or hire an illustrator or somebody who can help you design a good CV. And also, what has worked for me is I have been more creative. I in the CV usually you don't put an executive summary, but I often go ahead putting an executive summary right on the CV, and nobody has complained. And in fact, it has worked on my favor because I just put my selling proposition values. And so, what is my USP? What is my unique selling proposition? I just state that in a few lines. So this is not the best unique selling proposition here. but a few lines adding why you are the best candidate for this role would make your CV stand out. Okay, because if somebody is reading, you would stand out, right? Because nobody is putting in an executive summary, nobody is putting on the CV. Um, so this just stands out. And also putting a headshot. A lot of people are still not comfortable putting their pictures and images, but try it out. I think what it does is it creates psychologically, it creates, if you're smiling and if a headshot which has a smiling face and can project some of your personality, then you are already making your first move of connecting with the person. My wife, being HR, she has other views because she thinks that images and photographs sometimes create bias on the hiring manager, because some might be projecting a lot of some are photogenic, maybe some just stand out, others might not. So there could be a bias there. So she does not prefer having images, but I go with it, and that has worked for me as well. Also, there are some good professional CV services like enhancedcv.com, about which I came to know from a young product manager who I have been mentoring. And this entire batch of MBA batch, they use this service just to spruce up their CV, and they have some amazing designs. So you could try that out. I'm not saying Enhanced CV is the only one in the market. I'm sure there are more, but I had a look at it. I had a look at the finished products of some of these students, and I was pretty impressed, because when we started our careers, we did not have something like this. And even today, I don't take a service like this. I just design my own CV, but this is a great way. Next is create a great zeroth impression. Now, what is zeroth impression? We all know about great first impressions, but zeroth impression is a concept that I learned from my mentor, Rajesh Sethi. Now, we all know about first impression. First impression is when you meet somebody face to face. That's the impression that they make of you in during the course of the interview or conversation that they have. Zeroth impression is an impression that you have before somebody meets you. All right, and how can they form an impression before somebody meets you? By looking at how you are online, right? So this is, if they Google about you, they would be able to find sort of an impression about you. They would go to your LinkedIn profile, they would go to your website, maybe they would go to your blog, maybe, and that is where they are forming your first impression. And this concept is so powerful, and so few people capitalize or leverage this medium, that again it actually bothers me. This is such an important tool, because you have complete control about creating a great zeroth impression. You have control on your first impression, because of course you will put your best foot forward, but it's up to them how are they perceiving you. But the zeroth impression, you have complete control, because you create the content online, you create your LinkedIn profile online, you create your YouTube channel online, you write content, you have your own website. So you have a lot more say on how your online persona is appearing. All right, and the most important part here is, once you create an good online presence, what you are doing is you're making it easy for your hiring team to make a decision on you. Usually what happens, the hiring team are always under immense pressure, that if they are doing a great job evaluating your job fit or not. They are under immense pressure, and sometimes 3 rounds, 4 rounds of interviews are not sufficient to know about you. So what you need to do here is create such a great online presence that you are making it easy for them to make a decision for you. So for me, what has worked is, because I have written hundreds and hundreds of blog posts, I have so many YouTube videos. I have so many interviews with product leaders. I've already created my portfolio of work and shared it with the world. So, and it's part of my CV. So when they click on it and when they look at it, they already formed a positive impression about me. They already know the scope of my knowledge. All right. So what happens next is, now I have made it easy for them to know about me. So during the interview, they're only validating what I know. Okay, they already know, and now they're just validating whether, okay, whether what he has projected is true or not. So just validating. So you have to take charge of that and make a great first zeroth impression, not a first impression. So I want to just share a few examples. So one of the guy, his name is Siddharth, the guy that I was mentioning just now. I was mentoring him. He's a fresh grad from MBA. Of course, he has work experience before MBA, but he created his own website. Let me just see if I can share it with you. People thought that usually what happens, portfolio is only for designers who can showcase their work. That's not true. Portfolio is also for anybody. I mean, no matter what kind of jobs you have, what kind of roles you have, whether you are a lawyer or whether you are an engineer, I'm sure there is something to showcase about you, right? So this is the website of Siddharth, and I was very impressed. So this is the design is just like an eBay store, and he has taken charge of his personal brand, and he's presenting here, and he says, okay, I'm Siddharth. 87 people have viewed per hour, and I've got 147 product ratings, and this is my product overview. Okay, this is my competence, these are the number of years of experience, and this is my description. So mostly he has put this because he's a product manager, so he's selling himself as a product. And yeah, so this creates a great first impression, because people think, oh, okay, he has put in some effort to sell himself. So he's taking ownership of who he is, and he has taken an effort to go beyond just presenting CV, so that it's a simple way of standing out in the marketplace. All right. Great. So similarly, I have so I don't so I have an entire portfolio as well, but it's not on my name. I call it productlessons.com, where I publish all my blogs, all my content, and also there is an about me page. I usually put that across on my CV. But I would ideally advise you to have firstname.lastname.com. That's a great place for building your own personal brand, your own website. Excellent. Number four. Number four is be earnest, sincere, and committed. So, what does being earnest mean? Earnest means, as I said, it's being sincere, it's being committed to how serious you are for the job. Okay, and that is very important to demonstrate. If you want a job badly, you also need to showcase how sincere and how committed you are to the job. And that shows in different ways: how you present yourself, how prepared you are, um, and how you show up to an interview, and how you behave all through the interview process. So there are a few things that you can show your earnestness. First is read as much as possible about the company when you are appearing for an interview. Usually, right at the outset, the HR rounds also are so important, because that's when they ask you, okay, why do you want to apply here? Why do you want to work for us? And that's a great place to create a good first impression, telling them, you know what, your company does this great, this, or your company's core values are this, and they align with my core values. You know what, your last product launch was amazing, and I thought, what what a wonderful place to contribute and make your products even better. Or your last success product launch was amazing, and it had great reception across the world. So what it shows is you have done your homework, you are sincere, and you really want this job. Because if you do not want this job and you just show up without doing any preparation, without having gone on the websites and reading about them, then it just makes a poor impression of you, because then you don't care for this job and you just are taking a blind shot at something. So read as much as possible about the company, Google about the latest news, and this has worked for me. Like last time I was being interviewed for this next role, I Googled about him and I found that my CEO, my hiring manager, the MD, managing director, he was quoted in many newspaper articles because they had a partnership with another company in Australia, and in the entire press release he was quoted. So this was nice to know about my hiring manager, and I brought him the moment I met him before the interview. I told him, "Hey, I found out about you, and that was a great interview, and I liked what you had to say or what you had to present." So what this does is, so that's why I've written here, try to bring that information during the interview. If you found something really interesting about the latest news in press releases or anything about the latest happenings in the company, if they're not asking, try somehow to bring that up in the conversation. And what it does is creates a great favorable impression again, because they think that, oh, you have done your homework well and you have shown interest. That's what sincerity means, right? So that is what earnestness means, that you have shown interest. Excellent. Number 4, over prepare a few questions. Of course, you would be prepared with the technical aspect, the functional aspect of your role, no matter what job it is, from HR manager to engineer to, say, finance guy. Of course, you have to be solid with your functional expertise, your core domain expertise. But other than that, you also need to be ready with a few questions. So some of these questions, when I was new, I was not very prepared. I thought I would be able to wing it, but these questions are not to be taken lightly. First one is, why did you apply here? So it's a great test again to see how serious you are. And this is similar to my previous slide where I said, prepare a lot about the company. So why did you apply here? This is where this is like you got a great space to showcase how much you have researched about the company. So why did you apply here? Usually I say, yeah, I love your product lines, being a product manager. I love the space you are in. Say, for example, I'm going to climate change product next company. So in that company, I would say climate change is the best thing to be at present, because you're not just trying to solve for your customers, but you're trying to make the world a better place. And how fantastic it would be to work in that space and contribute. So something like that. So just to make them feel good and be sincere about it. I'm not saying fake it, but be sincere about it. Try to see what are the good aspects about that company that you're applying, and say that as an answer here, because this is a question almost every company has asked me. Why did you apply here? Okay. Next is, what are you looking for in your new role? This is again a very consistent question that they ask, to see whether you are a fit. What are your expectations? Whether there would be an expectation mismatch. And they would also ask, in relation to this, they would also ask, why did you leave your last organization? So you should have a compelling reason for that. And what are you looking for in the new role is, again, usually the answers that I give, that are one is, I look for growth and I look for learning, and a competitive compensation. So these are three important criteria for me. I have to be happy with the pay. Next is I need to be growing and learning. So these are the other two aspects. If I'm not growing in the organization, then I'm stagnated. Then you show to the world, show to them that you are a growth guy, you are an ambitious guy, that you are actually future driven, and this is what everybody needs. Most roles are needed people who are ambitious and growth driven. So these are my favorite answers, and I'm not just making it up, but these are answers that are true also for me. Because if I need to be growing in my next job, I also need to be learning, because if I'm not learning, I'm not growing, because they're both intertwined, right? With learning, you have growth. So you can also figure out what are your answers that would be more persuasive for them. What are your weaknesses? Again, a great question. It tests a lot of things in you. First of all, do you see yourself as a perfectionist, or do you see yourself as somebody with a growth mindset? That means some people just do not consider themselves as a finished product. They do not see any areas of improvement. They say that I am the best. So those are not appreciated in a lot many ways. So if you are able to find out areas that you'd like to improve, say that. Say, for example, I sometimes would say, when I began my career, I would always think that I would be able to accomplish my career goals with a lot of hard work. But eventually, so that was my initial impression, that I would work hard and achieve my career goals. But then eventually, what happened was, I learned that it's actually uh, growing with people and building with teams that you grow, and that is a lesson that I learned early in my career, and ever since it has been a journey for me to keep getting better and to keep getting better and improve my people skills. So what you're saying is, it's not your weakness, but it's a path of a continuous improvement. So try to be very, very diplomatic with this answer. Never say I'm unorganized or I'm bad with people, because these are red flags. And I know and I've seen, when I have been very candid and open about my weaknesses, it has worked against me. Okay, so you have to be very tactful and how you answer your areas of improvement, and say that this is something that I would like to improve forever in my life. I would like to get even more better with people. I am good at people. I have improved with people, and this is something that as I progress in my career, I want to be even more better and better. So that is how you give an answer. And the other favorite question is, what are your 5-year plans? And again, this should not be taken lightly again, because they are trying to see how ambitious you are. Because nobody wants to hire a paper pusher, right? You are not being hired to be bureaucratic and just fill their space. They want energetic people who can add value, because nobody is doing charity hiring you. Everybody wants, okay, if they're giving you X amount of money, are you bringing X plus 10 value to that company? Okay. So that's why it's very important for you to project your 5-year plans to them. Show them what you are, how ambitious you are, and how driven you are. So that will create a good impression upon them. And the last one is, do you have any questions? And this is also a question not many people prepare themselves well. So don't ask unprepared questions here. Make sure that you go to the interview with a list of questions that you want to ask. Don't blurt out anything that comes your in your mind right at that time. Be prepared, consciously prepare what are the questions you should be asking. So I usually ask a few of my favorite questions is, okay, what is the growth trajectory of this role? Now I'm making multiple impressions on them. First of all, of course, I genuinely want to know. And the second is your hiring team, your hiring manager sees you as somebody who's ambitious. That means they already think, oh, this guy is already thinking about the next role. Okay, so this guy already has a path in mind. This guy is ambitious, and that creates a good, favorable impression. The other question that I ask is, hey, I know about, I read about the job description, but what would your dream candidate be for you? What would you look for in a dream candidate? And what would you want your dream candidate to accomplish in the first 90 days? Um, yeah. And then I ask also about the culture. So these are some of the questions that I prepare, but these are some very, very powerful questions. Okay. These are not regular mundane questions. These are well thought through questions, and they make a great impression. Good questions can create great impressions on the hiring team. All right, so don't take these questions lightly. I'll just close the door and come back. All right. Yeah, and this is something that I, so 5-year plans, right? So you should have a 5-year plan because you cannot fake them. You have to have a plan and a vision for yourself. So usually I always, every year I have a vision on where I need to be in the next 3 years. Now 5 years is still long. People ask for 5 years, but 5 years is it's still difficult to be very accurately and precise about where you want to land. I have a 3-year plan. And usually I have a vision, I have a career strategy and a roadmap, and I'll show you how it looks like. So this is when I joined Exum as the product manager, as the lead product manager for an industrial IoT company. At that time, I clearly made a vision. I said, okay, I'm getting into industrial IoT. I'm in Germany. Germany is the world's third largest manufacturing country. I think I will thrive in this industry if I can become a thought leader in this industry. So my vision of my product, I wrote, I want to be a best in world product leader for industrial IoT in 3 years. And my strategy was be known as a thought leader in industrial IoT, become a director, and then make an impact in the community. This was my strategy. So there is a vision, there is a strategy, and then there's a roadmap. The roadmap is how do you achieve your strategy? How do you become a thought leader? So you start a podcast on industrial IoT, write a weekly blog post on industrial IoT, speak at least in 2 events every year. Okay, so these are some of the, I broke down the strategies into actionable deliverables. So how do I grow into a director? Build organizational savvy. Okay, build on my executive presence. Speak at least in 2 events. Consistently exceed expectations at workplace, and then make an impact in community, because that is also very important. Okay, how do you showcase yourself in the wider say community, your trade bodies and stuff like that in your field? So that is also very important to be perceived as a leader. So become a member in industry body, be of service to the community and stuff like that. So the point I'm trying to make here is, if you have this already chalked out for you, for your own career, then it becomes easy to portray this in your interview. Otherwise, you will be just quite vague about where you are going to be in the next 5 years or 3 years. Okay, so once you have it laid out, then you will be charismatic, because you will be authentic and you will say, hey, this is what I want to be, and I've already laid out my plans, and I want to reach my goals through your company by contributing to your company. Okay, great first impression. Excellent. Number 5, how to manage skill gap with job description. Now, usually what happens is, inevitably, when you're applying for a job, there is a job description. So there are, say, 10 items to be ticked, to be matched. And inevitably, there will be 3 to 4 items which is not a direct match with your skill set, your existing skill set. It's always going to happen. There's always a skill gap. Now many people do not understand this, and they always apply, and they stop themselves from applying when they see they're not matching in 3 to 4 skill set in the job description. Now that's a wrong thing to do, and this is something that I also learned from my wife, who is an HR manager who has hired hundreds of candidates over the years. The point is, there should be a gap, and it's healthy to have a gap, and I will tell you why. It's good to have at least 30 to 40% gap. And I got this also as an answer once I was interviewing a vice president of engineering at Autodesk. And she told me that whenever she has moved to the next role, there has always been a 30 to 40% gap in skill set and expectations in the job description. And which is okay. Why? Because that is your growth potential. If you are not going to learn anything new in your new role, what's the point if it's all matching the same? It should not match the same, and your new role should give you opportunities to pick new skills. And this gap of 30 to 40% should be your growth potential. Okay, so whenever, if somebody is interviewing you and he says, okay, XYZ, I see that you don't have 1, 2, 3 skills. Okay, of course you have these 5 to 6 skills, but you don't have these 3 skills. What should we do now? So you should say, hey, the reason I'm joining your company is for growth. That is going to be my growth. If I matched everything to your job description, then how am I growing, and why should I join you? These are the 3 areas will be on top list of my priority in the first 90 days, so that I will accelerate and pick them up as early as possible. So once you are confident that you can fit into that role, you are confident that you can contribute, you will make it easy, even if they are tentative and they are unsure whether or not they should hire you. Okay, and then you should also have plans on how to compensate for those lack of skills. So the way I will tell you, when I was new into product management, I did not have a lot of experience. So how do you compensate for that missing experience? I showed, I have done these online courses. Okay, because so when you do not have real experience, what would you fill that gap with that void? What would you do? You would see, okay, what else can I replace to showcase my passion for that? So when I was new, did not have a lot of product management experience, I showcased, okay, I have done these 5 courses, I have read these 20 books, I am being mentored by the director of product management from Oracle. It creates a great impression that this guy is so passionate. He does not have real skills, but look at what he's doing in the last few months or few years. He is picking skills, and all he needs now is an opportunity. So I actually wrote that I am being mentored by the director of product management from Oracle on my CV. Not many people do it, and this is what going the extra mile means. Many people, if they don't have a skill, they will not put it. I say, put all that you are learning. You might not have real experience, but put it that, I don't have experience, but I'm learning. So the director of product management at that time, and he used to take lessons for me. He used to teach me product management, and I put two people as mentors and coaches, and that actually did a lot of good. Number 6, how to prepare for skills you don't have. Okay, so you might be applying, and I think this I already explained this, but you should build a network of mentors. For example, as I said, I have a bunch of newbies who want to be a product manager in a WhatsApp group. So they take help of me to prepare for an interview if they see that the job description is something that they do not have. So similarly, build a network of mentors from your industry. So if you want to go, I'm giving you a lot of product management examples because that is what my field is, but you can apply this into any field. So whenever you are applying in a challenging role and you have some skill gaps, try to look in your network who has those skills, and talk to them and say, hey, I have this interview coming up. Would you be So don't randomly go and talk to them at the right first instance. You should have done a lot of homework and build a network already. Then you can leverage that network. Okay. Otherwise, you randomly go and ask somebody, "Hey, I have an interview. Can you help me?" It's very unlikely to happen. So tap into your existing network and build a network. That's very important, so that there is a interview coming, they can give you some really good advice. I spend a lot of time helping young product managers because I feel as part of my duty, because somebody had helped me when I was growing up. So I spend like hours, sometimes on weekends, just hours. Like this weekend, I'm actually presenting to a bunch of product managers on all the case studies that I have submitted for my interviews. So I've given lots of interviews in my career for product management. And inevitably, each company, they would ask you to work on a case study. So I'm presenting these case studies to these students. So yeah, so take help of mentors from your field, make relationship with them from at the outset. Don't wait till you need them. Okay, just build a relationship with them, and then you can prepare for the skills that you do not have. Number 7, talk about your first 90-day plan, and this is again very powerful. As I said, nobody is doing hiring you for charity. Okay, it's not like they have spare money and they want to fill you for that role, and you come and you just take the salary. No, if they're paying you X, they expect that you will contribute to X. But how would they know? They will only know once you have joined and contributed. But to build that confidence, you have to showcase to them that, you know what, of course, I intend to be with you long term, but this is what I want to achieve in the first 90 days in my new role. This is being like offensive. This is being like taking charge of your role. And I have done this in 2 interviews, the ones that I cracked for my next role as a head of product and my existing role. I wrote down my first 90-day plan, and I took a printout and gave them in my second round of interview, third round of interview actually. So what does it do? It You take charge, and it makes them feel secure about you, because they feel that, wow, this guy is initiative driven. This guy seems like somebody who will move things. Okay. The other thing that I might add is, after I got my offer letter, I started adding value already before joining the company. You have to do things that the 90% don't do. That's how you will be at the top 10%. Okay. If you want to be at the top 10% of your career, of your field, of your domain, you have to do things that the rest 90% people don't do. I met another guy who is joining as a senior director in another company. We were having coffee, and I said, okay, so what about your new company, this and that? He said, yeah, I'm taking time off, and I'm not going to join early. So he was in between jobs, so he had a few months, but he was taking his own time, and he did not want to join early. So I'm not saying you should join early, but what I'm saying is, start delivering value before you join. So what I'm doing, so I still have a month to go before my next company, before I join. So what I'm going to do is, I spoke to my hiring manager and I said, hey, I have some spare time now. I'm winding up my work in my current company. I have some spare time. Uh, what all I could do to prepare for my role and be more ready when I come and join on day one. So he said, okay. So these are the industry papers you can read. These are the white papers you can read. Okay, let me give you an access to the product, the demo access, the trial access. Maybe you can spend some time. He gave me that, and I did, okay, done. What next? What else do you think I should be doing? So I was proactively asking him, and he is like a little flustered because he was not expecting that a new candidate who has not joined is already beginning to contribute. The point is, you should be more valuable than the compensation they're paying. Always have this attitude. If they're paying you X, be 10x more valuable. Only then they will pay you 10x. And then once they pay you 10x, be 100x more valuable. So you have to be always a value driven candidate. Always see where I can add value. Okay. Of course, the scope of this presentation today is not about contribution, how to make a good first impression. So I actually went beyond the scope of this. But my point is, in the interview, take a printout of what you would like to achieve in the first 90 days. Obviously, that would be your take on what the first 90 days would look like. Eventually, when you are on the job, you will work out that 90-day plan with your boss. Okay, but here you are showcasing that you are proactive. This is what I intend to do, because they asked me, okay, what is, so because I kept saying first 90 days, first 90 days. So they asked me, okay, Ravi, what are your first 90 days plan? I said, okay, first 90 days, people, process, and product. I will do this, and people. I will engage. I will build rapport with all the people. Processes, I will see, okay, what are the tools, what are the processes, what are the frameworks. I will learn about the processes. And next, product, I will understand product. So I gave a complete 90-day plan. They were impressed. So no matter how small the role is, how big the role is, say what is their first 90-day plan proactively before they ask. Number 8, build a personal brand, because that's how you will stand out from all the other candidates. Okay, so you might be a complete match with other candidates in terms of skills, but what is that extra that you bring to the table? Okay, so building a personal brand is something that often talk to a lot of people, and it's very easy to build a personal brand today because every single one of you is a media company. You don't have to spend money on television advertisements to build a personal brand. No, everybody has a phone, everybody has social media. It's so you are yourself a media company, and this comes from Gary Vee. So the crux of your personal branding is, are you communicating your expertise to the world? Most people are great at their job, but they have not put in any effort to showcase how great they are to the world, and they miss out on them. That is what personal branding is. Personal branding is taking charge of the communication of who you are and expressing it to the world. What is your unfair advantage? You might be knowing it, but the world does not know. Okay, so you have to take care of your personal branding. And he's a favorite author of mine, author of Show Your Work. And he said, in order to be found, you have to be findable, isn't it? So I think there is an easy way of putting your work out there and making it discoverable while you are focused on getting really good at what you do. So all you need to do is, and I often say the smallest thing that you can do is showcase what you know on a regular basis to the world. Only then the world will find you. Make it easy for opportunities to come your way. So as you grow in your careers, you don't have to find opportunities. They would come to you. And that would happen when you are taking charge of your personal brand. So there are many ways to go build a personal brand. I talked about going the extra mile, right? So going the extra mile is good, but if you go 2 extra miles or 3 extra miles, it's making you even more powerful and making you even more attractive in the marketplace. And so the baseline of going the extra mile, the brand value, the baseline is a CV or a resume. Almost everybody has it. I would be surprised if somebody applies for a job without a CV. Everybody has it. That's the baseline. The blog is also becoming table stakes. Almost everybody has a blog today. So if you are not having a blog, then I will feel sorry for you. So I would just say that join the bandwagon and start contributing and writing about what you know, about your skills and about your domain, about your field. The next level is website and portfolio. Again, a smaller chunk of people do that, but still it is becoming more and more common. A website that showcases everything in your portfolio and stuff like that. And the next level is podcast. So many people now, they're having their own podcast. Again, a great brand building exercise. I started podcasting 8 years ago, and I think I already told you, because of that, I got a ton of opportunities from all over the world. It creates a great first impression. People just have think highly of you. It has multiple benefits. First of all, starting a podcast, you're talking to industry leaders, you're building your brand, people know about you, and then yeah, you just become attractive in the marketplace. The next is maybe you could start a YouTube channel. Not everybody is comfortable with the YouTube channel. They do not want to just come on video, but that is fine. But still, some people do, and it again adds a lot of value. So it just gets narrower as you climb up the ladder. And eventually, writing your own book is a great branding tool. And a lot of people, I'm not just saying businessmen, but individual contributors, professionals in corporates, they're writing their own books, because through that they are shining, they are just standing out. So you have a CV of a guy who has written about product management, a book, he has published a book. He has published a book. The process of completing a book of 3 to 400 pages by itself is an institution. So you will hire him because he has shown, first of all, resourcefulness, he has shown focus, he has shown initiative and drive. Not many people do that. So just that, you just, and it's an expert. You can actually, he's like you can showcase him like a star and an author. So yeah, so these are some of the ways that you could build your personal branding. If you say, Ravi, this is all bullshit, the minimum that you could do is have a blog. That is something that is a given, and please take charge of it. And as I said, if you work on your brand, you can always command a higher price, so you can negotiate it better. In fact, while I was still being interviewed in my next job, okay, I got opportunity to be a keynote speaker. So I have been speakers in conferences, but I've never been a keynote speaker. The moment I got it, the moment that the ad was out that I am a keynote speaker, I sent the link immediately to my hiring manager. Why? Because I wanted to project myself as a leader. That, see, I'm a keynote speaker, I'm a leader. So what that does is, it makes you even more valuable in negotiation. That my perceived brand value is higher. Okay, a candidate with no brand value and I with brand value, I can command a higher price while I'm negotiating a salary. Okay, so this is an example. A tapri chai from India, the context is India here, $0.25, $5 from Starbucks. Why is the difference? It's the same water, it's the same similar ingredient, but the branding is what adds the premium value. Some people say, oh, but I hate self-promotion. I cannot take charge of my personal brand. I'm not a personal brand guy. I like to do my work silently and let the work talk. Well, the news is, whether you want to take charge of your personal brand or not, you have a personal brand. Now, it is for you to decide whether you want to manage it or whether the rest of the world will create an impression about you and a brand about you. So that's the sad part. And you don't have to be loud and extroverted to build a brand. Okay, sharing ideas, which you anyways do at your work. If you're not doing that at your work, if you're shy at your work, then it's a different matter altogether. But if you're contributing at your work, then share ideas, write blogs, tweet about interesting stuff. So as I said, it's not whether you want to build a personal brand or not. You already have a personal brand. So it would be sad if you're not owning it up and managing it, and or you want to let the world create a brand for you. And I always say, sharing is not about self-promotion, because many people think, oh, yes, he's promoting himself. No, it's about a process of self-discovery. The more you share, the more you write, the more ideas you present to the world, you are getting better, and you are knowing yourself better, and you are finding your own voice. So one of my favorite tweet guy, he's an investor, he's one of the famous investors, Nawal. He says, become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. And blogging helps you redefine and self discover with what he said. These are some of the examples who have excelled in their careers and got really great opportunities because of the ideas they share regularly. John Cutler is from my industry, product management, and John Cutler rose in prominence very fast because he had some great ideas that he used to share frequently on Medium. As a result, he became very attractive to the industry, and he's become a celebrity. Shreyas Doshi is also a product management expert. He shares a lot of his insights on Twitter. He has become an expert. And Andrew Chen became a growth expert. He started writing about growth hacking and stuff like that. And he was hired by Uber. And after heading growth in Uber, today he is a partner at Anderson Horowitz investment firm. So how did these people become prominent? By sharing their wisdom, their knowledge to the world. Cool. Say yes to everything. As I said, to build your brand, say yes to everything. Say yes to keynote speaking. Say yes to podcast guests. Talk at MBA college. Mentor young professionals. Put yourself out there, because the more you put yourself out there, the more benefits are getting compounded over time. Keep a day job, but also build a cool side project. This is something that you should do to build your brand. And I will give you some examples on some of my side projects on product management. So I have a day job, but I also build productlessons.com, where I do podcasts and I write blogs and stuff like that. I also started a new side project called productphilosophy.org, where I curate all product philosophies of the best product leaders from all over the world. So I do these side projects, and sometimes what happens is people say, "But I have a day job and I have a family, and how can I manage my day job and then do side projects?" My energy gets sucked by end of the day, which is completely understandable. So what I do is I do not do all the hard work by myself. I hire virtual assistants who I pay them some monthly money, and they do all the publishing, managing social media and stuff like that, so that I am only focused on creating content, and I pay them. They take the headache, and they do all my management, so that I become more efficient and I focus on being more creative and creating original content than managing all of this. Be active in community side projects. So as I said, I was the founder of Product Camp Singapore, and that helped me build a great network. I was the ambassador of Product Management Festival Zurich. So try to be active in your communities wherever you are. Every field has a community. And be the purple cow. Seth Godin is one of my favorite marketeers. And only when you be the purple cow, most cows are black and white in color. But if you are purple, you stand out. As I said, if you have 25 resumes for your hiring manager, if you are the purple cow, you will at least draw his attention. Number 9, build a personal monopoly. What does personal monopoly mean? I will do a separate video just on this, but to just tell you briefly here, I keep telling about top 10%. What about being at the top 0.1%? Can you? Of course, it gets even more and more competitive as you climb the pyramid, because just narrower and more competition, but you still can by a few ways. That is what the philosophy of personal monopoly is: how to move from top 10% to top 0.1%. So this is an example of one of my role models, Conor Neil. He's a professor of leadership communications at Barcelona. I had the honor of meeting him in a coffee shop in Barcelona last year. 1st of January, no, this year, 1st of January on 2020. Spent 2 hours talking to him, one of my life's most precious conversations. I documented it also. Maybe I will share a link on the top. So how do you create personal monopoly? But sometimes what happens, excelling in one skill makes it really, really difficult to climb up, because so many people are excellent in that skill. So it becomes the return on investment of your hard work is not that great. The more harder you work, it just burns you out. So you cannot compete there just with hard work. So what you can do is, instead of becoming the top 1% in your field, top 0.1% in your field, try to become the top 10% in three fields. That combination will make you unique. And then that combination will make you so unique that you become the top 0.1% in that unique ability. So what Connor Neal achieved that is, he is a top YouTuber with say 56,000 followers. He's the top TEDx speaker. His TEDx speech had 2.5 million viewers, and he's one of the best professors in one of the most reputed business schools. The combination of all these things makes him, brings him to the top 0.1%, and that's why he charges premium price for his speaking gigs and all his engagements. So I'm going to do a separate video on this personal monopoly, but briefly, this is what I wanted to share it here. So how to think of competition? So you also do the same, maybe publish a book, start a podcast, something like that. Think, what are those three skills that when you combine all of them, it becomes the top 0.1%. Personal brand helps you reach out to influential people easily. If you are a nobody, then it becomes difficult to reach out to somebody important, right? But I spent last few years in building my personal brand, so now it's easy for me to reach out to anybody. I find somebody influential, I just tell him, hey, I have this podcast. Would you like to be my guest? So what happens is, he comes, he becomes my guest. He gets an audience, he gets a platform. I get to know him. We build a rapport, and I just build somebody important in my network. Okay, which eventually might translate into something, some opportunity in the future. And these influential people help you reach other influential people. I would not ever, in my dreams, would have met Yancy Strickler, who is the founder of Kickstarter, or Mark Goldstein, or Easter Wojcicki. I mean, these the people are the top 0.1% people in the world. Okay, so I could meet them because I knew influential people who knew them. So same is the case with your career. So you meet somebody, and then they connect you with somebody else. With that, I would like to give you some book recommendations. I still have a few more strategies, but the best book I think I've found on career is Invaluable, Maya Grossman. Third Door is great if you want to be radical and disruptive about your career, so that you do not want to go the orthodox way, the beaten path. If you want to succeed going the unbeaten path, making shortcuts and being creative about it, then go the Third Doorway. That's how it is. Number 10 is carry strong testimonials. So what I usually do is, I pick testimonials from the CEOs of my past companies. These are not LinkedIn testimonials. Sometimes they're LinkedIn testimonials, but sometimes I ask them to write a personal testimonial for me. And they would send me, and then I would get a printout of the most powerful and important people around. And then just take a printout and pass it on during my second round of interview. Creates, not many people do it. Not many people do it. So this is again a great way to stand out in your interview. Next is, I also carry a printout of why you should hire me, clearly laid out on how I stand out, how do I match with the job description. It just creates a great favorable impression. In fact, I created, so I'm joining a company and they are making revenues around single digit. It's a corporate startup. They're making single digit revenues. I made a plan on how I can double that revenues. How can, say, from single digit, how can we multiply it into 2, and what are going to be my strategies to do that? I created a plan, and nobody asked me. They wanted to have a chat, but I actually took out a printout. So carry a printout, write down what are the things you will help them achieve if they hire you. Not everybody will do it, so you will stand out as a candidate. Okay, so some very, very powerful. Number 12, never show desperation. Usually, and whenever I badly want a job, I was not happy with the job, I would show desperation, and I've always failed. Never show desperation, because when you look needy, you're not attractive anymore. They will say, "Mhm, not required." Never show desperation. Stay calm, even if you are waiting for their call. What happened for the next call, next round? Don't show desperation and write to them. Just wait calmly. If they need you, they will call you. I know it's difficult. Sometimes there is a great opportunity, and you want that job badly, and you just can't stop and just write to the HR, "Hey, what happened?" I have I have not been able to stop myself sometimes, but doesn't help. If they really want you in the next stage, they will call you. So, but if you follow up, then you seem needy, and if anybody who's needy is not attractive. This is focus on performance, not the result. This is again an attitude that many people don't have. Again, very difficult to inculcate this attitude, which is focus on performance. That means focus on doing a great job in the interview, but don't. And this comes from Bhagavad Gita also, right? फल की इच्छा मत कर, काम कर्म पे ध्यान दे. This is exactly what it is. Focus on a performance. Do a great job. Do an amazing job. Shine all through in the interview, but don't expect the result, because the result is not in your hands. There could be multiple reasons for you not being selected, and your potential might not be that reason. There could be somebody they got within their own network. There could be somebody who has some biases to hire a woman. So you cannot have any control on those areas. So why to stress? All you do is, I have written an article which is one of my favorite article. I sometimes read my own articles, because you put in your thought through things, and then you go back and refer. I can share that link in the description below in this YouTube. Um, that also says the same thing. So just focus on performance, and give your best in the interview, but don't worry if you're not cracking it, because that was never in your control. This also comes from Stephen Covey's philosophy, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, circle of influence and circle of concern. Okay, so try to focus on circle of influence. You can only influence how you do well in your interview. Your concern could be the result, but that's not in your influence. So great. So these were my 13 tips, and if you would like to connect with me, you can subscribe to this channel. I'm going to come back again with more content. I usually have a lot of topics going in my mind, but if you want to, these are my coordinates. You can reach out to me on Twitter. You can email me, and I'll be back again. See you then. Bye bye.